Well, g'day flatties and globe defenders. This is Critical Think from Down Under. Well, g'day everybody. Here we are again. This is a video by Phuket Word. In this video, Phuket Word claims that satellites like the ISS are really balloons. So I've renamed this video. NASA sent a balloon satellite into low Earth orbit. Therefore, all satellites are balloons circling above a flat Earth. Now, these kinds of invalid conclusions are just part of the course for Nick and other flat earthers. I mean, he said before that just because the Sophia telescope is on board a 747, therefore the Hubble is on a 747. Now, if you think that doesn't make much sense, you're right. Now, I call this the red dress fallacy. So what they're trying to say is this, that I saw a woman wearing a red dress. Therefore, all women wear red dresses. Now, I'm sure the flatties will say that's not their argument, but that is exactly the argument. So first Nick goes into the globe theory. Now, let's listen to this. It's not that bad, really.
According to the laws of Newtonian physics, where things going fast enough and high enough above a spherical Earth will perpetually orbit the Earth as they attempt to fall down.
So that's not too bad an explanation. I'd give you about 7 out of 10 for that, because you've got the vectors all wrong up there, you know. I think you did this diagram yourself, because centripetal acceleration and orbit velocity vectors are pointing in the wrong direction. So I've corrected the diagram for you like that. So even if you didn't do it yourself, then you didn't detect that there was a mistake there. But anyway, overall not too bad, you know, not up to your usual standard of silliness. So there's something good. So just to make a correction on the centripetal acceleration, it doesn't work in that direction that you've pointed it originally, which was the orbital velocity. That's the vector of orbital velocity is in the tangential direction, and the centripetal acceleration is applied by the gravitational force. So there's a corrected diagram for you. Now let's hear what you got on how this is supposed to work on a flat Earth.
So all you have to do really is go and look at the very first satellite that was put into orbit above the Earth by NASA and realise that this was a balloon and that nothing has actually changed since then.
Well, several things wrong here. First of all, you know, they said orbit. Now, what does orbit mean? I'm sure if you look up the definition of orbit, it means in orbit around the Earth in space, not doing circles above a flat plane. And what's this about realise? You're asking us to realise that this is a balloon. I mean, is this some kind of Jedi mind trick or something? Because that's a satellite that is also a balloon, but it's not the balloon in the way that you want us to think it is. So, there's no measurements. You just want us to realise. Okay, got it. And who said that nothing has changed after all these years? You know, balloon technology has progressed quite a bit since the 1960s. You know, now we have ISS-shaped balloons and space shuttle-shaped balloons. So you can't say that nothing has changed. Not just the ordinary boring old round balloons anymore. So really, what have you got other than we have to realise that it's a balloon? Huh? What do you got?
So let's see how it's possible to have a balloon going around and around above the level Earth acting just as we see satellites behaving, and understand that there's nothing about Newtonian physics involved. It is simply these balloons being whizzed around in the winds above the level Earth.
So that's it. No measurements, just some explanation. You know, I think there's a little bit of a problem with that. Shouldn't we have measurable proof? I mean, the jet stream whizzing around a balloon? This is just you saying that. This is not measurable proof. Oh, I've got a mate I asked about what you just said there, and here's what he's got to say.
So these explanations are not scientific. They're not backed by any measurable proof. And that is the problem.
You should listen to that guy. I think he's telling the truth there. So, I've got a bit of a question here. I mean, if these so-called balloons are supposed to be whizzing around the Earth, how do they maintain a predictable circle if they're just being buffeted by the winds everywhere?
Whatever.
Okay, here's another question. So, you've said here it's got a maximum speed there of 443 kilometres an hour. How do you explain the fact that satellites are going at about, 7 kilometres a second? Hey?
Whatever.
Yeah.
So every mention of the word satellite here is talking about a balloon.
So you see what he did there? He's trying to equate satellites to balloons. Now indeed, this is a balloon-shaped satellite. That is true. But the important part here is that it was launched on a rocket. It says so as much. It was placed in an almost circular orbit. And you know, orbit is not above a flat plane. And the balloon part was inflated after it got into orbit. And Phuket Word is trying to insinuate here that this is the kind of balloon he's talking about. But the balloon that was Echo 1 was inflated in space. It was balloon-shaped. Yes, they inflated it, but it was not like a helium balloon that floats up into the upper atmosphere. And they didn't launch this balloon from the ground like this. It was launched in a rocket and then inflated in space. So it's not the same thing, but Phuket Word is being dishonest and deceiving us, trying to get us to think that it's a balloon like this because that will suit his narrative. So yes, see this? This is their inflation test. And that is a very round balloon. It looks nothing like the one here, does it? So, and the fact that they inflated it in space, it was really small before that. Anyway, and here it says here, Echo 1 and 2 were large thin-skinned spheres that were inflated in orbit after leaving the atmosphere. So they got out of the atmosphere first, into the place in space where there is 2/5 of bugger all air, and then they went round and round and round. No need for propulsion, that's right. And here's the rocket that these satellites were launched on. Now here's the funny thing. Now someone pointed out here, MN pointed out that they were sent into orbit, inflated in orbit, and asked Phuket Word, how did you miss these facts? And now this is the very strange thing. Phuket Word said he didn't miss it. So that means he was deliberately dishonest and deceptive because he wants everybody to think they're the type of balloons that are launched from the ground. But he says here that he already knew they weren't. I think that's pretty dishonest.
The satellite remained in orbit for almost 8 years and was visible as a rapidly moving star in the evening skies. All right, there you go. Seeing exactly the same thing with satellites these days. Okay.
So with that statement, he's again trying to deceive by saying, oh, look, a balloon can stay in orbit for 8 years, when in fact it's not like that. It's not one of those balloons you send up into the upper atmosphere. It was first a satellite and then it became a balloon when they inflated it. But flatties just love to play the semantics game. And oh, look, it's a balloon. It's a balloon and it stayed up for so many years. And look, we could see it in the sky just like we see satellites in the sky. He is in fact being deceptive by claiming a satellite is a balloon and they're one and the same.
The satellite remained in orbit for 5 years. There you go. All right. Satellites always have been and always will be balloons whizzing around in orbits above the level Earth. As you can see on the right hand side here, we've got an illustration of the Echo 1 orbit that is projected above an azimuth projection centered on the North Pole and an azimuth projection centered on the South Pole. It doesn't dictate or confirm the actual dimensions or shape or layout of the continents on the Earth. It is just an example to show you how these orbits, as it said in this article here, are circular orbits above the Earth, which last for several years at a time without the need for any propulsion or any need to go along with Newtonian physics.
In other words, you've got absolutely no measurable proof and it's just you talking about it, and you don't even have a real flat Earth map. You've just got this cartoon here, and then you're expecting us to just realise that this is what happened. Well, that might be okay for you flat earthers, but us globers are a little bit more smarter than that. I think we require actual evidence. And again, you should listen to this guy.
So these explanations are not scientific. They're not backed by any measurable proof. And that is the problem.
And here's a 10 times slowed down ISS transit that I filmed myself. Now, my mate Where's Wally has put out a video a while ago, and you can go and check that out. He's given you 8 methods by which you can check to see if the ISS is real. Anyway, here's my slowed down transit, and you've got to realise that it's travelling 10 times faster than you see here. You really think that that's a balloon?